Elevate your business with 10x Branding and Marketing LLC. Our expert team specializes in enhancing your brand's visibility and connecting you with your ideal clients. We employ strategies that increase reach, leaving a lasting impact and driving client conversion. Trust and credibility are vital in businesses and excel in building them even with a limited budget. Our cost-effective approaches ensure you get the best results without overspending. Ready to boost your business cash flow? Contact us at 332-235-T99 and let 10x Branding and Marketing LLC guide you to success. Our focus is on elevating your visibility, which directly translates to growth. Experience the power of effective branding and marketing with us and witness your business thrive. Smart Fund. Welcome to the High Net Worth Investor's Guide, where art meets science. Explore tools, processes, and systems that empower you to accelerate your journey to a seven-figure business. Access smart funding solutions for 6- and 7-figure enterprises. Harness capital for multiple income streams. Master the art and science of debt mitigation to build wealth faster. Experience comprehensive business support to propel your success at a budget that suits you. The High Net Worth Investor's Guide is tools, processes, and systems that influences success.
All right, good day, viewers, and welcome to another broadcast of Competitive Edge. I promise you that today is going to be a very exciting program. I have two powerhouse individuals with me in the studio today. We have Peter Scott, and we have our great friend who is Paul Whitehouse. Now, today we are going to be doing a deep dive into risk management. We're going to be doing a deep dive into real estate acquisition. And one of the reasons I want us to do that deep dive into this program is because we see that so many millions of persons really do not apply risk management as they position themselves to acquire real estate assets and to manage that entire portfolio. So as we do a deep dive into that concept, it will really help you to understand whether you're buying asset as really an liability or is it really performing asset. So I want to welcome again Paul and Peter in today's program as we do that deep dive into that. Of course, we want to ensure that the viewing public, you are learning what we call the competitive edge and how you go about doing business and how you go about building out your personal life. I want to pose a question to Paul, and then we'll do a deep dive. Paul, I mean, can you walk us through the process of accessing capital for real estate investment? And I'm asking this question against the backdrop that now you access capital, now you own the estate, what's next? If you don't know that, you might be, by default, set up to undermine your own success. So just walk us through that process, Paul.
Absolutely. Now, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Gary, let me ask you this question. Are we talking for investment purposes or are we talking owner-occupied residence?
Brilliant question. Let us look at it from both perspectives, because as I do that deep dive, I will also examine it from both perspectives.
Perfect. Well, the process is very much the same, and I have experience on both sides of it, owner-occupied as well as commercial and investment real estate financing. So literally the process is very much the same. Your consultant is going to collect information from you, application, taxes, bank statements, and in some cases you can do no-doc loans and not provide that information, application only. So the process is very much the same. The difference comes in with down payments. With a FHA loan, you can put as little as 3% down. Most people, when they buy a home for personal residence, they're looking at 5 or 10% down. But let's flip the pancake on the other side. Investment property or commercial property, the minimum that you can put down is 20%. And oftentimes that really turns into 30 or 35%. And the difference right there, one of our lenders programs, I can remember it, right off the top of my head, 740 credit score, and you check the boxes to where you are considered, in their viewpoint, an experienced investor. That's a 20% down deal. You can buy investment or commercial real estate with, when I say only 20% down, I don't mean to minimize it because it's 20% down. But if you go to the other end of the scale and you're an intermediate or an inexperienced investor, or the credit score is, 680 is the next cutoff, and then it drops down all the way down to 600. And in a lot of cases, sincerely, a zero credit score, we can help you finance real estate, but the down payment will certainly be 35%. So that's the process. And for everybody who's listening, who's been through the process of buying a home, flip that, for your personal residence. If you're buying an investment property, expect the same thing: title work, appraisal, collecting information, getting that approval term sheet. The main difference comes with the amount of money that you have to put down when you're comparing it to owner occupied versus an investment property.
All right, thanks for that insight, Paul. Now, what I will do, I will look at some of the risk associated with either buying owner occupy or buying commercial real estate. And I'm doing this because of the fact that we're interfacing with many persons who wait until it's almost too late or too late to start thinking risk management and risk mitigation. And let me expand on this. When you're considering to buy a piece of real estate, one of the important questions you want to ask yourself, is it an asset or is it a liability? And understand this can make a major difference in your life. Uh, Paul, before I go into this, is there anything you want to contribute in terms of real estate, in terms of asset and liability?
The three of us have had this conversation before, and we agree way more than we disagree, gentlemen.
Yeah.
But we were having a little bit of pushback between amongst ourselves on this 2 or 3 days ago. So, and this kind of ties into learning, which we talk about a lot. I learned this. I didn't make this up. I wasn't the first person to observe this and say, "Hey, look, I learned this along the way." We talk about
Yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki a lot. That's who when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's where I learned it from. But in my viewpoint, if it is an investment property and your renters are paying that monthly note and you're making profit on top of that, well, that's an asset. But if it is your personal residence, nobody's paying that for you, and you're not making a dollar on top of it, well, then, in my opinion, that's a liability.
Got you. Now, what I will do, I will build on everything you have just said there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you think about asset acquisition and asset management, I want you to see the asset column and the liability column. I will begin by looking at the liability column. On the liability column, one of the first things that you should be looking at is what we call the PITI. And the PITI means the principal and interest and tax and insurance. The money that you're borrowing is called the principal balance. The cost of capital is what you call the rate, the APR, interest that you're going to be paying on that. You will have to pay tax. This is government tax, state tax, And if you're smart, you have to take out insurance, because insurance can protect you against flood. It can protect you against fire. It can protect you against various um, elements, natural and man-made disaster that can come to affect that piece of estate. But you also have maintenance and repair. Now, as Paul would have said just now, if this entire cost is coming from your single source of income, you have a challenge. Now, we as risk managers and uh, debt mitigation specialists, we get you thinking about all of these things long before you look. So, when you're leaping, you have a clear mental picture in terms of what you're going into. So, on the liability column, again, we are seeing one source of income. You have a single source of income, and you have to cover things like your principal and interest, tax, and insurance, as I just disclosed us now, along with that maintenance and repair. As we look on the liability side again, we see loss of income. What happens when you have loss of income? We see during the pandemic, what happens? Millions of people across the world, they were in panic. But yes, we had some strategic intervention that took place that saved the life of so many people, saved their asset. But still, we had many that was at risk. All right. We are seeing the loss of income security. Um, when you lost your income security, and you own that piece of estate, you need to now ask yourself, is this an asset or is it a liability? You go through, tremendous turmoil when this happens. On the liability side, we also see, because you lose your job, you lose income security, guess what? You now lost the ability to manage your debt. You can't manage your debt. And then because of the fact that you now can't manage the debt, you lose your property. And that leads to stress, and that leads to embarrassment. Because can you imagine that you had the nicest house on the block, and because you didn't have a risk manager, a financial specialist on your side to work with you through this process, you lost the asset. All right. And everyone know this now. So you're embarrassed. On the liability side, again, I'm seeing the lack of financial planning. And Peter is one of the guy will tell you that as you develop your personal life master plan, as you develop your family life master plan, you need to have a financial planner on your side. Now, you don't need to come to us. Our objective here is to give you the information so you can make smart and informed decisions. But this is what we do. We have experience in working with so many different persons across the world and helping them to get this right. All right. One more concept I'm going to look on the liability column before I go to the asset column is lack of financial advice. So financial planning, this is something that you may be able to do it yourself because you have the skill set. And financial advice, you need to work with someone like Paul that's going to help you to access capital, like us that's going to talk with you not only how to access the capital, because you can access capital, you can buy that asset, but that asset you're purchasing it as a liability instead of an asset. The right financial advice will help you to understand not only how to purchase, but the best financial instruments to use to achieve that. Paul talked about FHA that requires a down payment of between 2 and 3%, and that is music to your ears. But there's so many other financial instruments. But then once you get it, you need to understand how to leverage and how to mitigate. The average person don't know that. It's not your skill set. So all of this is what I'm seeing as some of the liabilities. And if you're not looking at this, you're not managing risk, because things tends to go wrong when you least expect them to go wrong. And because you're ill prepared to treat with them, it undermines your competitive edge. And our vision here is to provide you with the content of information that ensure that you always have that competitive edge. So on the asset side, this is what I want to look at now. As Paul would have hinted to also, that asset, or the property, it must be what we call income producing asset. And there's a way in which you can purchase the property as an income producing asset. Why buy one when you can perhaps get a duplex or get a triplex or get a fourplex, and it can go to work for you? So again, with a wealth manager on your side, they will be able to walk you through this entire process. On the assets column, again, I'm seeing asset appreciation, because when you purchase, you are also looking at asset appreciation. And why is it so important to look at asset appreciation? Because with asset appreciation, you can do what we call a HELOC. A HELOC is a home equity line of credit. That means you can take out the equity from the estate and you can leverage it into a business or into some other smart income producing source, or it could be a BLOC. So they're leverage here. Um, but this also is what we call new asset acquisition. You can take equity out of one estate and or one performing asset, because performing asset is not restricted to real estate, but you can take the equity out and you can leverage the equity to acquire new asset acquisition. That is increased cash flow. But again, having this information is what's going to give you the cutting edge. Whether you are going to purchase estate for business or purchase estate for residential use, having the right information is going to really help you to make smarter decisions. I'm on the asset side. As you set out to purchase, we also need to look at wealth accumulation. All right, because you are making this purchase with a clear mental picture that your efforts here is to accumulate wealth. Again, Peter will say to you, do you have a financial planner? All right, as you develop your personal life master plan, your family life master plan, because if you have these expertise on your side, they're going to help you to see all the possibilities. You may not see it. You don't need to see it necessarily, but ensure that you have big dreams and you have the right support next to you to help you to make smart business and life decision. So once you acquire the asset, on the asset side, we are seeing wealth management, because now you acquire, a fair degree of wealth. Are you able to manage it? Because we have seen so many people, acquire wealth and they lose it because of the fact that they didn't have the essential management skills behind them. Next week, the last thing here, the next two things I'm going to talk about here is it's not just about managing, it's about expanding. And if you have the right financial advisors on your side, the right wealth managers on your side, they will be able to ensure that you have this body of knowledge and they give you that type of support to achieve your personal and financial goal. So the last concept here is that you're now debt free. On the asset column, because you have deployed all of these prudent approaches to acquire and manage wealth, you're now debt free. So you can smile now because you have much better than your pension plan. You have income producing assets that is working for you when you sleep. All right. So Paul, I love what you would have said. It depends on you know asset pays you, liability takes money away from you. And if you purchase an asset which is a single source of income, it's most likely is a liability. So I'm just going to open up the floor now for Peter and Paul to chime in. I know Peter is probably just, you know, anxiously awaiting to talk about the importance of family planning, the American dream, and so forth. So the floor is now open to you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm just want to welcome our listening audience today. And the American dream is something that has, over the past several years, especially since 2020, with the
Say
scam
it. Say it. Yes.
scamdemic, the yeah, with that, it has turned the world into, well, in here in the United States, it has become a nightmare. More and more we see people are moving away from the thought that I can own a piece of property for my family, and we can even roll this back to 2008 when the subprime mortgage collapse took place, and the experiences that people have had from that time. But what we're here saying, when you come to the competitive edge, we want to give you the competitive edge, because there is, no matter where an individual is, where they might be at this time in their life, there is a way by which they can achieve the American dream. Or if somebody else is, wherever they are, in the world, that country has a dream, and it's a human right. I think it's a there are certain things that are just for human being. Food, clothing, and shelter are basic human rights. You need to cover yourself. You need to have a roof over your head, and you need to have, be able to feed yourself. So we're having the conversation of um, real estate, having that roof over your head. I think one of the we can look at it that the misinformation of the school system is, we can even look there to see, how individuals are trained even at the highest levels of academia, and they have not been given the very basic understanding of how basic living life is concerned. And so individuals now have to take the responsibility. Wherever you are right now, you can be, I mean, living on the street, you can be homeless. Wherever you are, how are you going to get out of that situation? It's going to take a little bit of planning. It's and it's going to take some time for an individual to realize, you know I'm not where I want to be, or I want to be in a better place. Then how are you going to get there? Everything is made better, or developed from a plan. And so we encourage individuals to write a plan. Just sit down and begin to design a strategy how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to go. And so we encourage individuals, and even as the word that is important in today's world, and it is you want to have an impact on life, a major impact on life. And how are you going to do that? We're not just here because of uh happenstance. We're not here because just chances. We're here because life has placed us on the planet for such a time as this. And so, what we're encouraging individuals to do is to design a plan. Design a plan with you being the center of that plan. You as a leader, you have to take leadership over your own life, your own circumstances, your own situations. You can't blame the education system, as much as the education system is at fault for not giving proper education. As I was listening to Paul, and even the discourse Gear was making, and suppose they had taught these things in school, that there is good about assets and liability. If they had informed individuals that when you're purchasing your first house, as much as we're talking about the American dream, suppose they had just put in that other piece as well, to say that, if you are the one who is constantly paying out of your pocket, to keep the roof over your head. It's not an asset. And so many people have lived that lie for so many years until they lose, an income. And now it's, as Gary mentioned, the embarrassment that comes. But we're going to go back to it. Go back to the point that no matter where you are right now, what you need is a plan. So you need a personal life master plan. And, you have others, your family who are close to you, your children, your dependents. No matter what age your children are, you need to design something that will empower them as well. And somebody will also say, I have no family, I'm a loner, but you have a few people that you depend on and who depend on you, maybe a very good friend, whoever those persons are that you can call. That person now is that
Create your own
individual.
timeline. Create it if you don't have it.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Because you're gonna need resources. You're gonna need other. No man is an island. No
You're
man
mute,
stands.
Paul. You're mute, Paul.
Right. So you're gonna need that family plan of individuals, your inner circle. But the most important, another important facet, that we you will need, because as you develop your personal life master plan and your family life master plan, you're gonna see a lot of your strengths, but you're gonna see a lot of your weakness as well. You're gonna see a lot of what you know, but you're gonna see a lot of what you don't know. And this is where now you can look into your community and you can see, okay, you want to get to here, to from here to there, but there you do not understand what to do. Yes, you want to buy that piece of property, but you don't know how to do it. And this is where the community life master plan, your community master plan, you got to reach out now to individuals who know, vet individuals who know. This platform that you're seeing here now is a part of a community master plan, because these are gentlemen that I've met, for some time. I've met Gary for a number of years, and through Gary, I was able to meet with Paul. And we have decided that we want to form an alliance to be able to communicate a message to the community. So this is an example of a community master plan. And then, lastly, we will say, second to last, we will talk about the corporate master plan, because a corporate, if you're going to bring individuals together, then there has to be an agreement. There has to be a rules of engagement. How are we going to operate? What are the focus by which we will be achieving our objectives or dreams? So that's a corporate structure. So you have the family life master plan. You have your first of all, you have your personal life master plan. You're going to design your family life master plan, your community master plan, and your corporate master plan. But it's going to roll you into one more program that I call legacy chronicle. You have to, whatever you are doing now, why are you doing it? And we are leaving a track record, and the time will come when we are no longer here. We want to be able to package that entire plan into a document by which we can pass it on to successive generations, by which now they can now learn from our track record, so that they don't make the same, they can make a better of their lives moving forward. So thank you, audience, for being here. And you're gonna understand that, no matter where you are today, it's gonna get better from now on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add a few things onto that, you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say quickly that we are currently streaming across multiple social media platforms. So I want to encourage those who might be looking at us from Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube to call a friend, tell a friend that the competitive edge is here, and they should tune in. Believe me, they would like you a whole lot after they tune in. Go ahead, Paul.
A bunch of things on a bunch of things on several things. And I was going to make a joke earlier. You said, Peter says, if you don't have family, and Gary chimes in, he goes, if you don't have it, make it. I'm like, what are you saying? Go have a bunch of babies? And make friends and turn them into family. Okay, that's a better idea.
Adopt them, man.
First thing across my mind.
Save the energy. Dump them.
What? All right. Well, a bunch of things on a bunch of things. The pursuit of happiness, man, that's written into our Constitution. And that's what you were talking about, human rights. You think you're down, but you're not down.
Right.
You're approved. You're approved for life. You're approved for financing. You're approved for the house you want to buy. You're approved for the car you want to buy with conditions. You got to meet those conditions. If you got outstanding, if you got good to excellent credit, you're approved with nothing down or less down. If you don't, you're still approved. You just got to come up with the money down, and there's ways to do that. So don't lose hope ever, because there's always hope, and there's always somebody around you to give you a hand if you ask for it. And go ask for it. So on the subject of, I wrote some notes down on the subject of, I just thought I was going to give a little pushback. So how can you turn your personal residence into an asset when it really is a liability? It is a liability if you're paying for all of it. So how do you turn it into an asset? You could actually rent out half your garage. You got a 2-car, rent out the other half. You could rent out there's companies that connect you with people, and you can rent storage space in your basement. And the same thing with anything, a car, a Lyft driver, an Uber driver. They're turning their liability into an asset because they're out working it at night, making some money.
But Paul, let me just contribute to what you said. I mean, taking your garage space and convert it into perhaps livable space. I mean, somebody might want to say that space is small, but let me tell you the reality. I have seen persons accommodating smaller space in the garage space, and they're paying close to $1,000 for that space.
New York City.
What else? Guess what else? Your principal and interest may be below that, depending on the size of your estate. So you could be applying the strategy that Paul is talking about. You can be living rent free, and having your single source of income to save and accumulate and then invest. Go ahead, Paul. I just wanted to shine some light on what you would have said there.
I'm glad you stated it like that, because when I was thinking rent your garage space out, 2 angles on that. Like you said, you could put some money into it, make it a livable space, or you could just rent it out so somebody could throw their boxes in there. Or park their car, especially you guys are from New York City.
No, that could be a good business, because it's tough to find parking space in New York.
Yeah.
You got to drive around the block several times to actually find parking space, and sometimes you don't ever park. And when you park bad, you get a ticket. So, creating that rental space could be a good business startup. I'm writing it down. I may just start creating rental spaces in New York there.
Better than even parking the car. Better than even parking the car. There are agencies that people can use to rent their car when they're not using it. Yeah. Understand? If you have a car, if you're living in New York and you are crunched for cash, use your car instead of you can't. There's an agency. What's the name of it again? The name is eluding me right now, but you cannot get that agency. I used to use them sometimes, and if I want to rent a car here in Brooklyn, I can't rent a car here in Brooklyn because it's not available. There are cars on the market, but they're not available in Brooklyn. There's none available in Queens. I'll have to either go to Long Island or go to New Jersey, to rent. So individuals who are living in tight spaces and they have a car, rent it to somebody else. And you're talking about a couple $300 for the week, or for a couple of days, 4 days or so. So that adds that up for the month. You're talking then again close to $1,000 here about that can take off some of the expenses. But there's so much that can be done. But what we're saying is it requires all of this requires planning. And what I would encourage individuals to do is here's the problem that a lot of individuals, especially at this time of the year,
Peter, we
they
cut
do New
Paul off.
Year's. Uh,
We cut Paul trying to thoughts off. We cut
oh.
Paul off. You were
New
cut
Year's.
off.
Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
New Year's.
Turo.com.
Turo. There you go.
Peter is
Organic
saying
farming.
it's close to Christmas and I'm cutting a bigger pie of the cake, man.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Turo. Yeah, Turo. That's exactly the agency that I'm talking about. You rent your car through Turo, and Turo protects your vehicle. Turo, either way, Turo protects the persons who are renting and the persons who are doing the renting. So what we're saying is that in all of the conversation we're having here, the bottom line that you need to have, you when you have a plan, when you have a plan, and you don't just want to be thinking for just if you're in a bad. Let me just say it this way, and then I let the guys chime in. If you're in a bad situation, and I know a lot of persons at this time still dealing with the fallout of the scamdemic, people are in a bad situation. You're not gonna get out of it if you're just thinking 1 or 2 years. That's not gonna work. You have to be thinking in terms of at least a minimum, and I would say a minimum 5-10 years. That's how you got to start to think. You got to start to think in terms of 10, 20, 40 years. Where are you going to be 10 years from now? And what that is going to force you to do is find individuals in your life that I've find an individual like a Gary or a Paul, persons who are subject matter experts in the area that you do, that is your weakness. Build a relationship with those individuals, because the problem between where you are and where you want to go is just what you don't know. And you don't need to think about the what in terms of what needs to be done. You just think about the who has that information, and then you form a partnership with that individual whereby you have some skill sets that they may want, and you do a trade off with them. This is what we're doing right here. So it can be done. Paul mentioned that you're approved. Yes, you're approved, because guess what? You're going to form a relationship with somebody who has what you don't have, and they will help you to get to that, that cross that hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
Just to add a little bit, I'm sorry, Gary, to interrupt you. I just want to
No,
throw
go ahead.
3 sentences
Go ahead,
in there.
Paul. Go ahead.
The master plan, you got it, and you're working it. But as we get, I think this is important, with every plan, as you receive new information, make minor adjustments. Stay on the path, but add to or even take away from. Like if you got the master plan, but you're still, a couple dollars short, or you're not making as much excess as you want, and you get this new information that you heard right here from Peter, Turo.com, you're like, wait a minute, I can rent my second car I got? Well, that adds to what you got, right? Mm-hmm. So as we receive new info, put it into effect.
Right.
What I want to say in relation to the master plan, one of the skill sets that you want to have is to be able to stress test your master plan. And I'm saying this against the backdrop that you may develop your plan, and as Peter and we have said here many times, at the end or the beginning of the year, you develop what? Your New Year resolution. But is there an expert that is working with you if you don't have the expertise to stress test your plan? Can you imagine that you're committing 6 months, a year, or even longer to make a dream become real, only to recognize that the path that you're on is the wrong path? Can you imagine?
I've done that.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking a screw to drive the nail in, a screwdriver to drive the nail in. So go ahead, Paul. Let me hear you.
Forget that
Stephen
screw
Covey.
driving the nail. Go back to shooting yourself in the leg. That was better yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. But Stephen
You know,
Covey, that concept, Gary, is something that I learned from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That people are climbing the corporate ladder only to realize the corporate ladder is leaning on the wrong wall. So
good,
yeah, so right about that.
good. So when what we will do and Peter will do is to work with you to stress test your master plan. And there's a concept that we call the TOPAC, targeted performance outcome. In developing any plan, you must be very clear about your targeted performance outcome. And targeted performance outcome has 4 dimensions, all right, for 4 spectrums. And you need to be aware of it. We're not going to get into it today in the interest of time, but as you come into our master classes, outside of these platforms, we will go deep into these concepts to ensure that you have the winning formula for success. The next concept that I want to quickly add here,
Here, may I just string a little piece to that? What we can
go ahead.
encourage people to do to ensure that they are not driving the nail with a screwdriver, or the leaning the wall, climbing the corporate ladder against the wrong wall,
Or shooting themselves 10 times
or
in the leg.
shooting yourself. That's just a thought. Just to think about that. The thought
With
Make
of
it
it
cringe,
coming.
right?
With a
Right.
shotgun, not a
Um,
pistol.
what we encourage individuals to do to ensure that they are developing a plan that is worthwhile. Go back. We ask individuals to go back in their past. We ask individuals to go back to your earliest memory as a child. Go back to your early memory as a child and think back in 5 year increments, from 5 to 10, what was going on, from 10 to 15, what was going on. But when you go back and you face yourself and you ask yourself, the personal questions, the tough questions, even, who are you? Who are you? You have to bring yourself. Because if you don't do that, you're going in a direction, you'll be going in places that you are not prepared to go. So you got to face yourself if you want to really know the direction that you're going. And we also have a questionnaire, 50 questions that will transform your life. So we're asking individuals to reach out to us as well. Don't just listen. We have tools that can help you. We can send you a document, 50 questions that will transform your life. And we will help you to actually backtrack so that you know where you are today. And once you know where you're coming from and where you are today, chances are you will know where you need to go tomorrow and how you're going to get there tomorrow.
Well, I will share a story, right? I can be vulnerable. I used to thought that there is a fairy tale god, mother or father that's going to come and help me with the master plan.
Wow. Wow.
Up until last day.
All right.
Until I
Let it talk. Let
recognize,
it talk, Gary. Let it talk.
let it
Come
go.
on. To speak
Be
to us.
vulnerable.
Let it talk. We're
Tell us
Dr.
more.
Phil for you today. Come
Got you. Paul had his ball, so he can be Dr.
No, I need the horseshoe, but that's why I go bald, because I don't accept the horseshoe like Dr. Phil.
Got you.
If you feel like
You know,
crying, you can go ahead and cry too, okay?
the tears is coming. I wipe, but you didn't see. Until I recognize that, life, and as Peter would say, you literally have to take ownership over your life. No fairy tale godmother or godfather is coming. But guess what? You can be your fairy tale godmother, your fairy tale godfather, your fairy tale, uncle. You can be it by investing in yourself. All right. The extension of this, what I want to say is that you have to make a commitment to become a leader, not just any leader. In one of my books, I talk about proactive leadership. Stop procrastinating, stop reacting, put yourself in a position of strength. where you can proact. But what does it mean to be a proactive leader? It means that you're thinking ahead. To develop the plan that Peter is talking about, it means that you're thinking ahead. To develop the plan that we are talking about, it means that you're seeing beyond problems. Because this is what happened. As many persons start to think ahead, guess what? Of the things that they want to accomplish. In business, you're thinking ahead about human resource needs, the technical resource needs, the capital resource needs. At the personal level, you're thinking wealth creation. But as you start to think ahead of these things, guess what? You see the problems. How do I get the best human resources? How do I get the best technical resources or capital resources? Or how do I build wealth? And Peter, because of bad planning or the inability to plan, they become stuck where? In the problem zone. Many
Right.
persons never get out of that problem zone. And here is where, you're sitting waiting fairy tale God, mom and dad is going to come and elevate me out of this situation. No fairy tale God, mom and dad ain't coming. But you have the leadership ability to take ownership and take action. Just get it done.
Right.
As
Right.
Ark William would say, just get it done. The last concept I want to share here, this is the tears, Peter.
There you
The
go.
tear.
There you go.
The
But
last
here, I
point
want
that
to interrupt you one more time. I want to interrupt you because you talk about the fairy tale. You talk about the
uh-huh.
fairy tale godmother. But I am from a group of individuals that suffer a similar situation, in the sense that they are still waiting for God to do it for them. They pray, they pray, they pray, they pray, and they're still waiting for God to do it for
They
them.
didn't read the whole book. They
Huh?
didn't read the whole book.
Well, they
They
read the
didn't
whole
read the
book,
whole
but somehow
book.
they have missed the part of it that says that there is some amount of works that has to be done. And it is the same fallacy that as an
Consequent
individual
work
waiting
is
for the
futile. Mm-hmm.
fairy tale godmother, and
Yeah.
some of the work that needs to be done a lot of times is just is to trust that somebody is going to come, is going to send somebody to your rescue, and you have to trust that person. So we are saying to individuals out there that if you don't know, you got to
But
trust somebody. You got to
but
trust that
Peter,
somebody gonna,
yeah,
yeah.
on the point of trust, I want to say this, here's where I'm gonna shoot myself in the leg again. You might see another tear. Fairy tale, God, mom and dad do come.
Mm,
Because here this one. The role that we are playing is to answer so much of questions
yeah.
to those persons that need that kind of support, whether you're in business or real life.
Yeah.
All right. So I just shoot myself in the leg. So I got a good reason to cry. But let me conclude the point here quickly, and then Paul is going to come in. It's important as you think about proactive leadership, three things. You must master the art of thinking ahead, master the art of seeing beyond problems, and master the art of informed action, not just action. We have coined in my last book, informed action. And what is informed action? Is your ability to take action because you have scientific proof that is going to lead to results. And there's ways in which you get that scientific proof. Research, historical data, getting a mentor or a coach who have been there, done that, and have the experience. Like, for example, you are not an expert on accessing capital, but guess who is? Paul is. So if you connect with Paul, Paul is the one that's going to help you to take informed action because he knows the ins and outs of the process to access funding. So in this case, he can be my fairy tale godfather that I never had, right?
That's what I was going to push back on. Let's stop. Let's get away from being fairy godfather anythings, and let's suggest that people be their own SWAT team
Yes. Okay.
Oh, oh,
We're
oh.
good.
I don't want to be a
Hey,
fairy tale
that
something.
can be a good or a bad thing depending on where you're living. You don't SWAT team in New York City, in Brooklyn, man. Gotta have
Somebody
SWAT
can
team
come
in
here,
Brooklyn.
right?
Well, it's a good thing if they're coming to rescue you, and that's what we're talking about.
Good. So the key here is getting a mentor, getting a coach, people who have the experience and can help you navigate the rough terrains of business and the rough terrains of life. There's so much that we can talk about here. Um, but get a mentor. Just don't take action. All right. Take action. Start this. You must start somewhere, but somewhere along the line, start to align yourself with the right people. Again, it don't have to be us. It
Yes, it
don't have
does.
to be us. We
Carrie.
just want you to get up and go and attain your competitive edge. Connect with someone in your community that can give you the right support, the right advice. And if you can't make contact with them, well, you have us.
Right.
Just reach out to us. We are committed to that process of providing you information and support to
And
move your business
a big
forward.
part of it, Gary, as
Yeah.
you're mentioning, the first step, because as a matter of fact, individuals, especially here in a city like New York, people will have, if you're asking individuals to form relationships and to get a mentor, then the issue is, who do I trust? Well, before you put your trust in anybody at all, then it's just like dating. When you were seeking to find that special somebody in your life, you don't just meet the person for the first time and you're proposing marriage. No, you're going to go to the education phase of, that, to, you interface with the person as often as possible, to ensure that what they're saying is in
Paul,
alignment
Paul,
with what you're seeking.
Peter is talking about dating. I guess he's taking you serious when you talk about, when you said if you don't have a family created.
Hey,
Oh
here,
man, stop it, Peter.
my wife watches these programs too, so you got to be careful now.
Be careful.
Gary's like, go create it. He's
It's
already
not your
got
wife.
10 kids.
It's who you're giving advice to, right?
I'm telling you, right? I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot here. I'm not trying to shoot myself.
You did.
Okay, Paul,
See,
you go
see.
on.
But we're,
Peter,
we're
tell your
letting
story.
individuals know that there's an education phase. There is an education phase for just about everything. There's a period of time. And this is why we're telling individuals, don't run to a 1 year treatment situation, the short term, because you're going to need time to gather adequate information. And that is why we're telling people that New Year's resolution doesn't work, because it doesn't give you adequate time to get the proper information and give you enough space to really put yourself, because a lot of the problems that people have found themselves in, it took 10, 15, 20 years to get them into that state, and now they want to change it in 15 minutes. They just want to snap their finger and a microwave solution comes out. No, this is why now you have to have a long-term plan. You got to think now generationally. You have, depending on your age, you got to realize that there are some things that might not be some dreams may not be fulfilled in your lifetime, but no, your children and your grandchildren may be the beneficiaries. So we talk about legacy. But in this world in which we have AI and all of that stuff, any material thing that you're looking about, the material things, yes, the material things can, the house that, if you are, even if, no matter how old you are right now, as we talk about forming an alliance and forming a community plan, you can bring about attract individuals to yourself. Within 5 years you are able to buy that property. So no matter what it is, it doesn't have to be, um especially where material things are concerned. It doesn't take a long time to get certain material things. To buy a house, you just need to find the right network around you. But what we're saying, for you to have correct a lot of mistakes that you have made in your life, it means that you've got to take adequate time and you got to think long term, not just quick fix to fix those matters.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Well, I agree. Agree. You can, and you can't. It took 15 to 20 years to get into the problems. And what you said, Peter, was you can't expect it to be solved overnight. But I like to say, flip the pancake over. And
Mhm.
my business partner says this all the time. I love it. Take your time, but hurry up every chance you get.
Exactly. I like that. I like
It's
Yeah.
a
that.
process. You're right. It's a process. And what I do believe is that having the right mentor, the right coach, the right support systems around you, it can help to accelerate the process. One more thing that I want to say also is that what we're saying here is universal. It's not just a New York based platform, it's a global platform. But the point that I want to hit home here, people challenges can be fixed with the right information. Let's take, for example, the average person living in America who is earning and paying their rent consistently, but they're still going paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a whole lot of savings, but guess what? They have excellent credit score. In a few short moves, those persons can be helped. And let me say why. The average person in America, their monthly rent is higher than their annual percentage rate on a real estate. That is an advantage to them if they understand how to leverage it. All right. Now, so that's one motive for them to say, I should start thinking differently. This is another reason why they need a wealth manager, financial advisor on their side. The next point that I want to make here is that they may not have, you know, 10% or 20% in savings to go acquire the first home. But Paul would have pointed to early on FHA, 2 or 3%. But guess what else? You have excellent credit score. So what if now I'm able to position you to access funding at 0% APR? That's another window out of your situation. And from the time you're able to make this short move, guess what? Because you're not moving and making the move to buy your asset as a liability, you're buying it as an asset. It's a duplex, it's a triplex, it's a fourplex.
Can
So
can I
there's
ask, can I
moves. Go
ask a
ahead.
question here, Gary, to
Mm.
Paul? Can somebody, because somebody is listening now, and you mentioned FHA, can FHA be used to purchase a multifamily dwelling?
It can. Yes. It's been, man, it's been 20 years since I worked at a mortgage company, but I'm still kind of familiar. Right now, we focus only on commercial and investment. Uh, I'm 99% sure that you know what? I take that back. Yes, absolutely they can. Not an apartment building with 1 through 4 units, single family 1 through 4. I believe the answer is yes, but absolutely no for an apartment building.
Hmm.
The
And a second part to that, what I would mention, Gary, is that what we find in what you're saying as well, Gary, is um, a lot of times people are playing the game without understanding the rules to the game. And I think that is what is happening, especially here in say the United States, for
the game
millions,
the game
multiple,
is rigged,
multiple.
man. The game is
Yeah,
rigged.
the game, and that what here. All right, so that is two problem now. They are playing the game,
The game
not
is rigged.
understanding the rules, and then the rules is rigged. So it's a double jeopardy right there. So what we encourage individuals to do is first of all to understand, and it's only recently that I'm getting this understanding. And if I should say this, that America, United States of America, the land of the land of the free, the home of the brave, and that's a beautiful thought. That's a beautiful thought. But we have to understand that America, the rules that engage America, it's because America is not really a country. America is not really a country. America is a corporation. The rules by which America operates, where finance is concerned, it is the rules is corporate. So
What
if
I'm getting from what you're saying there, in order to navigate the environment of America, you need to understand how the game is played, and to
definitely
understand part of understanding that game is to really take the time to understand, how money moves around.
how
It's
money
about
moves.
understanding debt. It's about understanding equity. It's about understanding credit. It's about understanding hard money lending. And there's so much to go into, because let me tell you, as the older folks, we grew up hearing, stay away from debt. Debt is not good. It's going to hurt you. But is that true, or is that myth? That's the biggest myth that we have been told, because, when you understand financial instruments, you want debt because debt gives you leverage. The most important thing that you need to consider is that once you're able to cash flow that debt above and beyond the cost of the capital, take the debt. But you may need an expert on your side to help you. And if you don't understand that game, and if you're dealing with fear that is putting you into flight consistently, not fight, flight. You're flying away from the opportunities because you have fear. You're not ready to play the game. So,
Mhm.
Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah. On that subject, that's what I say to people all the time. Okay. Coca-Cola, specifically with equipment financing, but Coca-Cola, General Motors, the biggest companies in the world, all the biggest companies in the world, they don't pay cash. They don't go buy equipment with cash. They really don't even use bank financing as much as they use equipment leasing, because it's tactical. There's benefits to it that don't exist when you pay cash. Cash should be used for opportunities and emergencies, and you should have as much of it stacked as you can. And this leverage inexpensive debt,
Mhm.
because the cost of money is a write-off anyways. You're getting it for free, really. And
Another competitive edge.
yeah,
Another competitive edge. Go ahead, Paul. I'm going to come just now.
yeah. And
Complete your thoughts.
that was I wanted to make that point, and then I just wanted to add to one other thing in the toolbox that people don't. Go ahead.
But just before you add, let me add just to that point.
Yeah.
When we look at companies, big companies like Walmart, which is perhaps the largest super mall that we have in the world, I think they employ today over 2 million people. I mean, their employment size is over, is bigger than the population of some country. But guess what? These guys leverage debt in the form of line of credit. These guys has perhaps over 500 line of credit. And guess what? With a line of credit, I can leverage millions of dollars, all right,
Mm-hmm.
of OPM, and I can stock my store out, and I can sell my goods out, and I can pay that debt with a profit in my hand and leverage that into, you know, ways of growing and expanding my operation. Competitive edge.
Right. So,
And
and to throw something in
that's
there, to throw something else in, Gear, when we're talking about debt, and it is something that I'm just, getting an understanding and clarity on, and what we're telling individuals when when we're saying using
but
debt.
Peter, a quick disclaimer. If you're not an expert, stay away from that. If
Right.
you don't understand what you're doing, stay far away from that.
And that's the
Get
point.
the mentorship and the
Right. And
coaching before
that's
you
the
go
point I
there.
was driving at, that you're going to use debt to acquire assets. That's the whole objective. Is not just to debt for the sake of debt, because debt for the sake of debt, you
And
add
it's not just asset, it's cash flowing asset.
perform right cash income generating assets. And so when we understand these elements, and this is why we're having these programs for people to get, and the bottom line is education, education, education. You're going to need some time to get the proper education, and this is what it is.
And on the point of education, I really want to encourage people to go to the bestseller portal, bestsellerportal.org. And we have a number of books on that portal. Master the sales communication process. Get those books. We're talking today about business and finance. You have 3 volumes out there right now. There's about 8 volumes, but get the first 3 volumes. It's only, I think, $1 per book. Get those books. It's an audiobook. Start listening. Start getting your appetite wet on some of the things that we are talking about here. Paul, I know we cut you off just now. Complete the thought, and then we're going to come back to Peter, and then we're going to wrap up.
Okay. Well, just a quick thought, what developed on Walmart. As far as leveraging other people's money, grocery stores, I'm sure Walmart does it too. You have to pay them to put your product on their shelves. They're not buying it from you. They're charging you for their shelf space. So you have the opportunity to make money with your product, and they have the opportunity to make profit of it also. But just one more tool for the toolbox for people considering buying personal residences. And we didn't talk about it. We talked about FHA, but people who are in the military, they got access to, I think it's 0 down home financing. So if you are,
Veterans, they have
Yeah.
a major competitive advantage
Exactly.
because there's a special funds that is set up for veterans to access for real estate. Perhaps we'll bring in some of the experts as time progresses to deal with veteran from them.
But here is one, and I think I'll use this for my closing remark, because I have to we have another program at 7:30. But what a lot of individuals do not understand as well is that their life experience has a great deal of assets within their life experience, within their knowledge, especially individuals who are professionals at what they do. There's one part of your knowledge that you are using to inform your community. We encourage individuals to take that knowledge. So for somebody who is a professional at anything at all, if you are in practice, if you're a practitioner of anything at all, that you are actually trading your time to get to that practice into the marketplace to empower people. You're a dentist, you're a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are whatever practitioner you are, anything that you're using to generate revenue, you can now take that knowledge, because the knowledge industry is one of the fastest growing industries now, because most people, they want to learn something without have to go to spend 4 years or 2 years in college. And so if they want to learn something, they would rather go to the practitioner to learn that body of knowledge, to be coached, or to have consultants, to have a consultancy from that person who know it, than to go to a 4-year college where it is theory. So what we're encouraging individuals who are practitioners to do, transform your knowledge into digital products. Transform your knowledge into a course, transform your knowledge into a seminar, into a conference. And we are able, we have the design to help you to do that. And you can take that body of knowledge, and it lives forever. It can be generating revenue for you for years and years. You do it one time, and you are now able to benefit from it for years. And so we are able to assist you to do that. Then we take that and we can put it onto the bestsellers portal, and you are now have a distribution point while you continue to do what you are doing. So that's a powerful thing. I think people can now, like we're telling individuals to find use for their cars or for their garage. We're saying there are other uses that we can use your knowledge, your expertise to become assets for other persons to learn from.
And that's a great point, Peter. The bestseller portal in itself, once you have the knowledge base, the experience, and that foundation, and we take you on to get your book done, it's not just to say we're going to help you to get that best-selling book and put you through the bestseller portal, but there's a number of things, and I want to encourage you to go to the portal, look at it. We're going to work with you to develop that book into your course content. We're going to work with you to translate that book into multiple languages. We're going to work with you to do national tours and international tours. So it's an entire business ecosystem that is going to be coming behind those persons who reach the qualification criteria to get the input. And there's just a couple of things that I want to say on the academic platform. I don't have a problem necessarily with the 4 years of training, the 6 years of training preparing for a master's degree or your doctorate. The challenge that we have is that you want to see whatever that training exposure is relevant to a changing global environment. In many cases, you find that what you're coming out of college with, especially if you're an employee, the skill sets, all right, all of it is not properly aligned, and the personality and characters development that you're looking for to drive vision forward, you're not getting all of it. You now have to go through, take those staff, you have to put them through a training program, a new acclimatization process. And, you as the employer now, you have to spend the time helping them to self-actualize. What if the academic institutions have that self-actualization game plan, and when they send the HR, the human resource over to you, is just to take your local content and make it global content. All right, so there is where I have the challenge. It must be relevant, more relevant, because things are changing rapidly. Technology is changing rapidly. The way we communicate is changing rapidly. And if the content that is out there is not changing with global demand, it's going to become obsolete. So there is where I have concern. And of course, on the point that Peter is making, because of the fact that we are on the ground and we are doing research, all right, we are ensuring that everything that we put out there is applicable and relevant to our consumers, to our ideal client. And in closing, there's one more thing that I want to say. When we roll out a program, I'm looking at it from two perspectives: science, art, and science. Art and science. At the right time, I will go deeper into that. The art is the method of approach that you're going to be using. The science is the predictable outcome. Science always gives you predictable and consistent outcome. And it's how do we make the programs so designed to deliver on those completion criteria. But we'll go deeper into that later on. Paul, but those are good notes that you made, Peter. Love it. Paul, my friend, the floor is yours. I can see Paul is smiling. When Paul is smiling so much, Peter, some funny thought is going through it.
It was. You're right. Just thinking about the whole program. You went from shooting yourself in the leg, 10 rounds each leg yesterday, to driving and screwing something in the wall. I was like, no, that doesn't hit the point. Go back to shooting yourself in the leg, and you did. Then my funny thought was, well, if you really want to damage yourself, shoot yourself with a shotgun in the leg. Don't even need a pistol. Okay, that's my closing remark. Thank you, everybody. No, just kidding.
Guys, I'm living in Brooklyn, man. I live in Brooklyn. We don't want nobody shooting themselves. We know this is a dangerous place to be firing shots in these places. Don't do that in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I observed that is a sensitive topic, this issue to the legs, because next thing you know, I got a knock on the door. Where's the guns? Where's the guns? I got to use screwdriver now. Paul is
But it,
use
it
screwdriver.
really drove the point home yesterday when you said that, and then you amped it up. You're like, I shoot myself in the leg. Then you said, well, I shoot myself in both legs. And then you said, with 10 bullets in each leg.
Paul, we're from again, Ohio?
Yeah.
We're Ohio.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's a lot of trees out there, right?
There's a lot of woods.
A lot of woods. It's no understand we're talking about shotguns and all them kind of
You're the You're right. All right, everyone. I trust that you had fun today, the listening audience. Again, this was the third broadcast of the Competitive Edge. This program comes to you with the kind compliments of Global Capital Inc., Pitch Deck 101 LLC, and 10X B&M LLC out of New York. And of course, this program is also highly supported by Legacy Chronicle and Patriot Business Finance Consultant. So, I wanted to, again, encourage you to call a friend, tell a friend when we are on. This is the morning program. We try to be light. We try to be humorous. We try to crack a joke, because it's not all about, having that serious face. We want to connect with you. We want you to connect with us. So you're going to find that we're doing a lot of laughing and comical stuff from time to time. And it's good when academic can do this, right, Peter?
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying here to smile, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm saying,
"Oh man, me too." Like I look at myself, and I'm like this. You like.
Well, I'm in the mirror, my friend. I'm in the mirror practicing all the time, because who know me know this is not me, right?
You're doing a good job of it, man.
I'm in the mirror. All right, my friends. I must say that's been a pleasure being with you guys, and we do this again tomorrow, same time, same